Hey guys. How is it going? Good morning. Good morning, Arceli. Good morning, Bria. Arceli, aren't you due soon? Do I have that right? Hi, Victoria. What button? It probably was because I hopped on a little 2 minutes late because it was taking a second for it to kick on. But usually the best thing to do is to just pop onto the notification that happens when I go live. I'm guessing that's what you mean. Yeah, probably my guess is because it was I hadn't been on. I was on like 2 minutes too late. For some reason, I need to just hop on a few minutes early. For some reason, I'm on here and it takes sometimes like a minute or two for it to like register that I'm on. I don't know why. It doesn't always do that. No, I'm here. You didn't miss it. All right. Yeah, it just happens sometimes. Like I said, I think it's like it takes a second for it to register that I'm here. And so if I'm ever like right on time or like a minute or two late, I was actually feeding Bennett. That's why I was 2 minutes late. And it took a second for it to like register that I was here. Yeah. It's all good. We made it. We're here. How's the humidity? I like the humidity. I'm weird. My skin likes it. My hair likes it. I'm a big fan of humidity. Aw, thanks, Victoria. This is such a wonderful community of parents. I have such respect for you guys. It is a whole new ball game navigating all this with a baby, but I love it. I love it so much. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and jump right in, and that's, you know what? Actually, I'll just talk to that a little bit, speak to that a little bit. It's really nice that we're like building our own businesses and freelancing and that we can make it work around our life. And one thing that was told to me by a mentor long time ago that I think is just so true is that we want to kind of act like the client that we wish we could have. Meaning, like when you work with other contractors and as you grow in your business and somebody's late and things like that, just remembering that we're all human and stuff. Because I think that oftentimes, I know I did when I came from the traditional like job market and, traditional 9 to 5 careers and things like that. There's a lot of expectations in that world that I think are shifting. And I think that we're a really beautiful part of that, meaning like when someone's late because they're like with their kid and stuff like that, I think it's really important to just show the people that we work with grace because one day we're all going to have to ask for it ourselves. You're going to work with a client, you're going to miss a deadline, you're going to miss a meeting. And I think it just kind of all circles back. And I don't know. I've just seen it play out time and time again. And it also is really wonderful because when you're like working with maybe you work with a web designer at some point or a social media manager or a virtual assistant, and you guys kind of build that rapport. It is so nice when you start to like deconstruct the corporate things that have been ingrained in us unnecessarily, right? Like I think actually COVID played a really beautiful role in pushing back on some of this because we're all humans. We all have our families and our lives and our pets, and incorporating that into our work life and leaving space and forgiveness for like the messiness that comes with all of that. I don't know. I just think it's like it's a part of my mission. It's a part of what I think is really amazing about what we're doing here. And I also think it's a shift that's happening like in the career landscape at large. And, we all had to do Zoom meetings from home for a few years there with COVID, and kids were in the background. I just always think of that that news anchor who had the baby like run in the background in the office, and how he like tried to hide the baby. And I was like, man, what if we lived in a world where you were like, oh, my bad, my baby came in. And he just like plopped him on his lap and continued his interview. I mean, as long as the kid wasn't being super like disruptive and he could still have his conversation, I think that would be a much more like beautiful experience. And I really think that's where we're headed. So yes, Joan, coming from the corporate world, there's a huge mindset shift there. That's why in the conscious copy one, I also tackle the whole like the customer is always right. We are not in that world anymore. We have shifted and changed and progressed. And when you build your business, know that you get to build it exactly as you want. You don't have to work with clients who are mean or abusive or even just like inconsiderate and have zero tolerance for life. You don't have to work with them. It's great. It's great. You get to build your own business. Yes, Bria. Happy Wednesday, Russ. Yeah, I remember that too. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the questions that were submitted. If you have any, you can drop them in the comments and we'll just kind of dig right on in. So the first one is working with a counselor friend who has a private practice, and I'm helping her with the copy on her website and maybe some blogs. Her website design is pretty How would you use it as a portfolio piece if the design isn't awesome, but the copy itself is helpful? I wouldn't worry too much about the design, but you can also always recommend that they revamp their website, and keep in mind, depending on their budget, like initially, most people don't need like a full-blown web designer. They can get away with a Squarespace site, and maybe that would be helpful for her. The designs are really beautiful. But if it has some sort of scheduling tool, that might not be the case. But you can also always recommend to your client, I really think your design needs a revamp. That is absolutely within the kind of the adjacent role of a copywriter. We don't need to go into like making all kinds of design recommendations, but it is totally appropriate for you to say, your website could use some updating. So same with teaching. Shout out to Kristen kicking off her. Yes, Kristen, our coach, is doing a behind the biz program right now where she's building a business for teachers and letting people kind of see in on the back end, which is super fascinating. Yay, welcome, Denise. Okay, next question. I'm wondering about my website. I've been working on a website already before I found your course. My website is for children's books that I've self-published, and I still want to work on them and wonder if I should start another website for copywriting, partly because I'm working on WordPress and I know you should suggest Squarespace. So WordPress is still kind of like the leading website like platform. It's the best, quite frankly. It's and I should clarify. It's the best in that it has the most customization like features. Like most web designers will be building in that. However, it's also for some people largely unnecessary and very complicated, and can be the thing that stops them from moving forward, which is why I recommend Squarespace, because the Squarespace templates are wonderful and you are more than welcome to go ahead and use those. It just will shortcut a lot of the learning curve that comes with building a WordPress website. So if I were up to you, if I were you and it were up to me, I would, if you're comfortable with WordPress, continue down that path. If you are feeling really stuck and like it's hard and there's resistance to even finishing it because of how hard it is, I would encourage you to check out Squarespace. So that's just going to kind of depend on how comfortable you are with what you're already doing. One of the companies I'm working with just informed me they're using ChatGPT. Any advice on how we can compete with this tech? So you're not going to be competing with this tech. In fact, the answer is going to be to incorporate it and to readjust maybe who you're reaching out to. The people who are going to be probably using ChatGPT initially are going to be people who have in-house copywriters. So more often than not, going after the mid-level, even smaller businesses is going to be a little bit better, because those people are still not going to have time to figure out ChatGPT. And then the next step is going to be, how can you incorporate it into your business and your processes to make your life easier? Because I have been playing with it a lot and it is not there yet, especially how we teach copywriting at Write Your Way to Freedom. So there are copywriting courses out there that will just hand you a ton of templates, and those copywriting courses are going to be obsolete very quickly. the thing that we teach you here is truly marketing. And by the end of it, you are a marketing strategist. You know how to create funnels. You know how it all works together. You know the customer journey. You understand how it works. And ChatGPT still needs people inputting information. You still need to be a subject matter expert, meaning you know the industry that you are writing for really well, like the back of your hand, and also incorporating that just like into your processes. In fact, we're working on an AI lesson to start including that in the trainings of Write Your Way to Freedom, because that's going to be part of the process. There have always, always, always been tech coming in and changing the playing field and how things work. And that is always going to continue to be the truth. So yes, and Google currently has programs to check web content to see if it's purely written by AI. And if over 40% of the algorithm, 50%, it will push the results down. The other thing is that AI needs content to get better. And if all the information online, and it prioritizes human written content. So if all the stuff online becomes AI written, it's going to eventually just continue. Well, one, it's already very generic what it outputs anyway, but it's going to continue to be generic. So there is a real incentive for the AI tools to prioritize human written stuff. Does that mean that you shouldn't use it as a tool? Absolutely not. And we're going to be talking about that, I'm sure, in the upcoming months. But it's just like SEO. When I teach SEO, I don't teach you guys how to use the most trendy hacks that people have figured out or the loopholes. I teach you genuinely how to understand SEO and how to actually incorporate it and how to play the long game. And this is all about playing the long game. So as you grow as a copywriter, you will not just know how to write copy, but you will know so much more and ultimately become a marketing strategist. So I'm always early, but I have a difficult time connecting. I get a sign that says starting soon, but doesn't connect. So this is what I would recommend. Click on the thing that says I've gone live rather than the live broadcast itself. I think it's because I think the reason there was an issue today, Tanya, is because I was about 2 minutes late because I was feeding Bennett. And I think when that happens, I don't know. I think that I will try to be early next time so that doesn't happen. But okay, next question. My client is a pediatric baby sleep consultant. Very important. Sleep consultants. Okay. She has contributed articles on a sleepfoundation.org and other impressive publications. She's both a pediatrician and a sleep consultant. We're trying to figure out how to leverage all of these articles she's contributed to. We should write a little blog blurb on her site and link out to them. Yes, you can do that. That would be one recommendation. We probably can't repost them on her website because Google won't like that. Also, it's unnecessary, so you don't need to do that. Or just do a media section on her homepage as seen on. Also do this and list all the logos of the media appearances she's made or articles she's contributed to. So that is some of the best things you can do. But the most important thing that she should do is she should get a backlink from all of those publications to her website. And a backlink means that they're linking to her homepage. So I would go to that article that she's written, make sure that there is something on there, usually in her byline, that links to her website, because this is the most valuable thing that you can get from these things, from guest posts. And if it's not there, then she needs to reach out to the editor and say, hey, I noticed that my website wasn't linked in this article. I would really appreciate it if you could add this to the byline, and then write them some swipe copy, right? Dr. So-and-so, pediatrician, sleep consultant, blah, 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 blah. You can find her here and link to her website. And the thing about doing that is those organizations know that that's valuable for her. So they should be willing to do it. That's one of the reasons, that's how those organizations can get people to create guest posts. That's the bargaining chip, is that you'll get a backlink. So I would reach out and ask for sure. Okay, next question. My plan has been to work with coaches, specifically in the dating or personal development area. Love that. I've made lots of connections on LinkedIn with life coaches and dating coaches, and I'm starting to realize the majority of them don't even have a website. Are they worth pitching to? My issue has been that most coaches I come across don't have a large enough platform or following. You need to look a little bit higher. I also know those people also usually are very DIY with their marketing. So if they don't even have a website, reach a little bit higher. I know people have had tons of successes with coaches on here, but I don't know what other types of coaches would be ideal to go after. Should I be expanding my niche? What types of coaches have businesses that would need a copywriter? All of them. Also, the other thing that you could consider are like, VSLs, video sales script letters, but actually don't even worry about that. Really, truly, if they don't have a website, you want to reach a little bit higher to people who at least have a website. This is the same for any industry. Like I mostly wrote for functional medicine doctors. And when I was reaching out, I started reaching out to functional medicine doctors who didn't have websites because I thought it would be an easier in. Also, because I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome and I was like, nobody will really want to hire me. I'm a newbie. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to reach for like the people at the bottom who I will definitely know a little bit more than they will. But very quickly, you're going to learn that if you're in this community, you're in this program, you know so much more than the average copywriter even. And just start reaching a little bit higher. At the bare minimum, they should have a website. And that will really help you get your foot in the door just because they have at least the basics of an understanding around the importance of marketing. So, John, I'm in the firearms industry. When it comes to contract with clients, aren't we mostly doing blog content? If so, are they supposed to give me content topics or am I free reign in this type of scenario? So you don't have to do blogs. Write Your Way to Freedom has you start there. And the reason for that is, and I explain this in the course, the reason for that is they're often needed on a retainer. They often are a low-hanging fruit, and they're one of the more affordable pieces of copy for a client. If you want to go right into direct response, you absolutely can. And so with the firearms industry, I actually don't know because I'm not familiar with this particular industry, what type of copy they would need. But as you become aware of the different types of copy, websites, I'm sure they need, blogs, maybe. I mean, blogs are going to answer questions. Emails, I bet they definitely need emails. Sales pages, maybe. Do people buy firearms from like landing pages on websites? Probably not. I don't know. You'll know better than me, but like look at the different types of copy and see what's out there and ask yourself, where do people actually find information about these products and how do they make decisions on purchasing? And whatever your answer is, those are the types of copy and the types of clients you want to start reaching out towards to start writing for. Okay. So this next question is, I'm not a fan of Facebook, but they're asking if I was ever going to bring back the Facebook group that we used to have before we moved to Circle. And the answer is absolutely not. It was a total disaster from a management standpoint. And this is so much better, so much more focused. And yeah, one thing I want to remind people is like, you have such a powerful opportunity in this community to make a name for yourself, to stand out if you want. But also focus on your own journey. That is very important. I see lots of people get distracted by the community. It's very fun, and I get it. But what was I going to say? You have an opportunity always to be the thing that you want, right? So if you're wishing that there was like more inspirational posts or something like that, you absolutely can be the person to kind of start that trend, and it will catch. And that is like one of the most amazing things. This community may seem big because there's like the number of people, but not very many people are actually consistently active. And so very quickly in this community, you can like shift the conversation to be more of what you're hoping it would be. So, and also keep in mind, like this is for sure, first and foremost, the community is a place to get questions, answers, to brainstorm, and to figure things out, especially as like the world changes, which it always will change. But anyway, yeah, I agree. Artelli's Circle is so much better than Facebook. Facebook was such a disaster. Also, I haven't like logged onto Facebook in months, and my mental health is so much better. Facebook has gotten real messy. Oh, I'm so glad we got off Facebook too, Amy. Okay. Joan, yes, Circle is so much better than Facebook. Yes. I agree. Circling back to ChatGPT, is it okay to use a subject line word for word or certain phrases that it comes up with in a blog or email you're writing for? I always make sure to run it through code schedule and plagiarism check website first, but I'm wondering if it's morally right to use it if it's not your idea. So with blogs, there's more of a concern, right? But with emails, there's actually no concern of plagiarism except for your own conscience. In fact, like there are copywriting courses that literally you open it up, they teach you how to be an email copywriter, and it's just email templates, and you just like plug and play. And that's will, earn you money for a point, but it won't actually teach you how to think and how to grow and how to run a sustainable business. So that's got to be your own answer. I think that's an area that people are still trying to figure out how they feel about that. I think using ChatGPT for ideas is a wonderful idea. But yeah, we're all figuring it out. Trying to get started in cold emailing. I'm in the personal wellness niche focusing on mental health. Would you recommend just looking up therapists or coaches near me? I feel a little bit lost to where to start. That would actually be a great place to start, especially because therapists and coaches near you are going to rank probably, this is like a generalization, but probably rank a little bit more easily because they have location-based keywords. And what I mean by that is maybe you have what is it called? Let's say like hypnotherapist in Santa Monica, California. Maybe like when you write pieces to kind of capture that keyword, which is literally what people type into Google when they're looking for someone like that. It's fairly easy to rank for, and not a ton of people are doing it. Again, there's differences in competition based on location and actual industry, but that's one of the reasons I have you guys start there, because it's, again, generally like a lower hanging fruit, something that you can kind of is easier for you to get your foot in the door with. And usually you can have pretty good results with your client fairly quickly because it's such a niche keyword, but also truly capturing people that are very interested in what your client has to offer. So yes, I think that's a very long-winded answer to say, yes, that's a great place to start. But also I just wanted to kind of give you some context and background. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna jump back over here. What do you think is a more profitable way to spend time? Is either one a better use of time than the other? Sending new cold emails or sending follow-ups? Oh man, you should be doing both. So I don't really think there is an either or. I like the fishing metaphor you use. So is it better to cast more lines and add more bait to the existing lines? I would think sending new cold emails. But one of Ryan's signature phrases is the money is in the follow-up. I want to make sure I'm using my time the wisest to land clients. The thing is you just don't ever want to not follow up. So take the time to follow up. Follow-ups are usually very easy. You're just kind of touching base to pop that email at the back. I don't think I can choose one or the other here. So what if you don't have any testimonials for your website? I've written for word sites, but they didn't credit me for my work. Hey, that's where I started too. It's very frustrating. I feel you. I wrote for a past employer, but it wasn't really copy, and he was pretty flaky. I got paid late every week, and it was really inconsistent writing for him. I'm so sorry. I have been exactly in that position. It is brutal. I doubt he'd even remember me to give me a testimonial, or it'd take him forever to get back with me. What should I do in this situation? Oof, don't get a testimonial from this guy. It's probably not going to even be good anyway. Instead, listen, test your website isn't going to make or break this process. What's going to actually make you a successful copywriter is getting better at your copy, practicing, learning the craft, and then getting in front of as many people. Your website has a few, like, the overarching principle of having you create a website does a couple of different things. One, it sets you apart from the sloppy freelancers who are not being as professional. So it makes you look a little bit more professional. It gives you an opportunity to practice copy, gives you an opportunity to get feedback on copy, and it gives you an opportunity to see SEO and practice SEO for the first time. Because oftentimes we look at SEO, we're like, this kind of like doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then maybe something will happen. And then as soon as you write your website incorporating what you've learned about SEO and you start to see it climb in the rankings, you're like, oh, snap, this does work. And so it's all about like actually learning this process and making sure that you get it, you feel confident in it. It's about growing your confidence. So I wouldn't worry about not having testimonials. You can also start out with testimonials from people that you've worked with who weren't working with you on copy. Maybe they can make a testimonial about what it's like to work with you. So maybe you have a past employer where you didn't write copy, you didn't do marketing, but they can say, you were such a delight to work with. You're a hard worker. You deliver work on time. And like that can be your testimonial. It's not going to make or break you. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to hit 1,000 words per page when writing website copy? I've written a homepage, services page for my client, landed in the 800, 1,000 word range as I promised for about page 500 to 700 words. Looked at other websites. They have much shorter hard word counts, so it's difficult to find examples as a reference points. On a scale of 1 to 10, I love that you asked me that. I would say it's about a 4. It is so much more important that you are helpful, that you are thorough, that you appeal to the different kinds of readers, the skimmer, the digger, and Google, and that it's like genuinely engaging. Like don't write 1,000 words if it's boring, right? But if you write 1,000 words and it is engaging and keeps people on the page and increases the amount of time that they're there, which tells Google, wow, people really love being on this website, beautiful. So it's just one piece of a part of a strategy. Should our portfolio pieces be made up of products or real ones? And should they be written with different emotional writing techniques? So, your portfolio, I always like to remind people, remember your portfolio is a living, breathing thing that you will be updating throughout your career. So what you use now will not be what's on there forever. So you always just want to work with what you've got to get started. And when you're first starting out, that might be pieces that you practice in this course that you got feedback on from the editing team. It may be an emotional writing technique. It may not, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're starting out. So you just are working with like whatever you have right now. And it doesn't have to be, you can write a sample ad. Like sometimes clients don't want you to use their work. It depends on who they are. Like if you're writing for an individual brand, they might not want you to like plaster what you've written on behalf of them on it. So sometimes you might need to write a sample ad or a sample product description. And the great thing is because it's writing, people can read that and pretty easily know like, oh, this is good. I'd like to work with this person. So it can be real. It can be, and oh, I think I'm realizing you meant real products or made up products. I would use an image of something generically and then write a product description, for example, if that's what you mean about it. I wouldn't say like, writing a product description about, I don't know, like what's in front of me, these sunglasses, right? I wouldn't say like, okay, Gooder sunglasses, and then like write a product description with Gooder on it. Because it might look like you are saying that you wrote for the company. But again, maybe you just say it's a sample. Or maybe you just don't even like, you omit the brand name and you just write about like the particular glasses. That's definitely an option. So a spec ad, which Earl's asking about, is meaning that it's not a real ad. It's just like something that people are using to kind of like create an example. So you create it without like actually a paying client. So maybe some people, and you could like use it to create and then like pitch it to a client. So that's all it means. I was wondering if it'd be a bad idea to name my business website something other than my name. I thought about using my kid's middle name, and that ended up being too confusing. Would it be hard if people were looking for my name? You can name it something else, but I will say that using your name is far more memorable. And also people sometimes will forget your business name, and make it just like that much harder to find you And remember, the amount of resistance that's created in any process from start to finish on the customer journey means you lose people. So it's up to you. You are in charge of your journey. I just give you advice based on my own experience and also the experience of working with thousands of people. If you don't want to use your name, you don't have to use your name. If a portfolio piece is about a real product, should we say we haven't written for the company? No, why would just swap out the brand name? That's what I would do. I don't think you need to like call it out. Okay, next question. I am relatively new to Write Your Way to Freedom and been moving slower than I hoped, but I'm hoping to gain momentum again. Welcome back. I can't tell you the number of people who've had like life situations come up when they joined this program and then they just like had to get back on track. It's all good. That's one of the reasons a lot of programs will be like, you've got 12 weeks. And I think that's bananas because life is life and it happens. And so we are here for you when you are ready, my friend. Anyway, I understand that copywriting is any writing that leads the reader to act in some way. Can the action not be in the form of a sale? Absolutely. It could be a donation. It could be to sign up for an email list. It could be to sign a petition. It could be to take a stand, anything. Speechwriters are copywriters often in hiding. I don't know. If you watch like a political speech, you will start to notice some of the things that you've learned here. Can it be more like life change or something along those lines? Absolutely. I see a lot of other types of writing being mentioned. I guess I'm wondering if they're offshoots of copy or still copy itself. Ghostwriting, course writing. So ghostwriting usually isn't copy because, I mean, like ghostwriting is typically when people write books for other people. And that is not usually copy because you're not usually trying to get somebody to take action. Creating course content isn't usually trying to get people to take action. It's usually more informative. So it's not actually copy. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Okay. Oh, I lost it. Okay. My niche is technical writing in the mechanical engineering and solar industries. Hell yeah, super interesting. This is where I have combined 15 years of knowledge and experience. As I write my cold emails to potential clients that I'd like to write for, I'm struggling how to structure the email so it's not so pitchy, especially the companies that seem to have their shit together and don't have obvious issues that need to be fixed. What should the structure of the cold email look like to companies who seemingly aren't looking for technical writers or copywriters in general? If we can't figure out their obvious pain points, my biggest takeaway is to have a technical writer that frees up time for other engineering members to focus on their own tasks. I've touched on the pain point multiple times, but I feel like I'm missing something and can't put my finger on what it is. The first section should be personalized, but I want the rest to look like I've tried a handful of cold emails to potential clients and they all sound childlike, as if I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I actually anticipate that two things are happening here. One, you're probably looking too closely, this is my guess, obviously, at templates and other people's stuff, and you haven't quite found your own voice yet. And so one of the things that helps the most with that is reading it out loud. Also, remembering that you can sound a little bit more casual. I think oftentimes in certain professions, people tend to sound really uptight, and it's just not necessary. You can sound really personable. So find your voice, say things out loud, things like that. The other thing is it sounds to me, instead of worrying about making it pitchy, it sounds to me like you might have some hangups around pitching and maybe even the idea of sales or copy, which is maybe why you're going towards technical writing. And I really invite you to push back on that. If you haven't checked out the conscious copywriting lesson of the course, definitely visit that. Because at the end of the day, when somebody pitches to me something that is like exactly what I need, I am so excited. Because here's the thing, good marketing, good sales, good copywriting, it doesn't stick out in our minds as salesy or copy or even pitchy usually because it is exactly what we need and it's actually helpful and it solves a problem and we're usually so relieved. And so when we think of things that are like icky, it's usually the things that didn't land, that didn't resonate, that were poorly done. So I would really encourage you to ask yourself, is this true? Is this why you're choosing technical copy? And is this why you're actually having a difficult time with writing the cold email in particular? Because I'm telling you, as somebody who has been on the receiving end of many, 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 many cold emails, like we're talking like almost every day. When one is well written, meaning it's like written to me and they genuinely know who I am and care to help me, I'm always appreciative of it. So, and that's not true for everyone, you know, but yeah. So I think maybe see if you can push back on that, and hopefully one of those two things resonated with you, because that's what I suspect. Okay. I'm working on client outreach. I've gotten a lot of practice writing for friends, family, and guest posting. I've also been working on recovering from a chronic illness while doing Write Your Way to Freedom. This is one of the major reasons I started this journey in the first place. With limited energy at times, I've felt discouraged if I can make this work, especially once I have more client work. My struggle right now is I'm feeling like I'm not sure I can do this purely from an energy standpoint, not necessarily from an imposter syndrome. I'm focusing on putting one foot in the other, reading the slight edge and not giving up, but I'm wondering if you have any pieces of advice based on other students you've helped with in similar situations as me. I've been listening to recovery stories of those in similar situations. I just want to see if you had any encouragement here. First of all, definitely join the chronic illness warriors interest group in the community. We have a ton of people in this community who joined it specifically because they cannot work in a typical 9 to 5 job. Amanda B, her last name starts with a B, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but she is in the student success stories, and she talks about her struggles with chronic illness. Also, there are a few others, but like honestly, type in like chronic illness, and I'm sure you'll find other posts and stuff. So connect with other people. That's my number one recommendation. Find stories. I love that you're already listening to them. There's definitely some in our community. And then the other thing is like honestly, the only thing that there is to do is to chip away at it in the slight edge way. There's a beautiful Melanie who created the templates that are available on the website lesson, also struggles with chronic illness. And she has made it to 20K months by really getting very strict about managing her energy. In fact, she often says that it's like kind of been a gift because she can't waste her time with clients who are not ideal, clients that don't pay her well. She has to be so relentlessly careful about how she doles out her energy that it's made her only work with high quality clients and only work on high ticket projects. And so that is an option, you know? And also, one of the things that I know she's done is like ramped up work when she's felt better and like slowed it down when she's had a flare up. So, that's actually, it's a very common reason people come to Write Your Way to Freedom. And I just like feel this. That's who I used to write for functional medicine doctors and for people specifically struggling with chronic illness. And they have just like such a special place in my heart. So reach out, reach out. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm currently working as a full-time copywriter. Whoop, whoop. And trying to figure out my path to success. I've had one paying client in my niche, which is home improvement, as I continue to email people in my niche, cold email people in my niche, but also I've started emailing people in the vacation rental niche and also the business coach niche. I'm considering offering editing service. I'm trying to put a lot of feelers out there because I really need clients. I'm wondering if this is a good plan or if I'm just distracting myself from my primary niche because I've had such little response. So would you recommend I focus or continue putting down a variety of feelers? This actually reminds me of a really good story that Joe Polish often shares, and he's just like a marketer. But he shares his like origin story is about how when he was first starting his online business, he had an opportunity. He started a carpet cleaning business. That was his first business. Sorry, I think I said online. His first business was a carpet cleaning business. I haven't told the story in a long time, so I'm trying to like dust the cobwebs off. And he had an opportunity to meet with, I think, because like a mutual friend had this very successful business owner friend, and he had an opportunity to meet him. And he was like, I'm going to ask this guy what industry I need to be in to like have a successful business, because this is not working, because he was trying everything he could think of to make his carpet cleaning business successful. And that's the key. Everything he could think of. And so he had this opportunity to like, just, he was like, hey, you know, Mr. Businessman, Mr. Successful Businessman, like, what industry should I be in? Because my carpet cleaning business is not working out. And the business guy looked at him and he goes, are there successful carpet cleaners? Like, and he was like, oh yeah, there are some people who are like crushing it, making great money. And he goes, then it's not the industry, it's you. And he was like, ooh, like blow, blow to the heart, right? But it was a really eye-opening moment. And they went on to have like a really meaningful conversation where he was like, if there are people doing it, then it is worth looking at yourself, your process, and not yourself like as in you. Like, let's go ahead and detach our personal self-worth from our work, shall we? Because it's caused a lot of pain in people. But looking at what you're doing, right? So if there are people who are successful in your niche, maybe it's time to look at each aspect of what you're doing. So what I would do is start from beginning to finish in the customer journey of talking with your client. And what does that mean? I would first look at my cold email. I would look, well, actually, no, I would first look at who I'm reaching out to and my cold email. Am I reaching out, and ask yourself a few questions. Am I reaching out to clients who can afford me, who clearly understand the value of marketing, who are, you know, not just like don't have a website, right? Because that often is something that people do. Who am I reaching out to? Are they actually good fits, or am I selling myself short? Number two would be to actually look at your cold email. Is there something I can do here to get better at what I'm like writing? Can I submit it to the editing team? Can I reach out to somebody, another copywriter? You know, this is something that is like not done enough, and I used to do. Sometimes you can reach out to another copywriter and say, hey, could I pay you to look at this? When I wrote my first white paper, I was like, I've never written a white paper before. I'd like to write a white paper. I know the theory. It's a big project. You know, people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for white papers. And so I hired a copywriter who was a white paper copywriter to like oversee the project. And they didn't like babysit me or anything. I wrote the white paper and they gave me feedback and I paid them to do it. And I got an incredible lesson out of it. So, but you also have the editing team here. So you like don't even need that. But then going through the process. Okay, it's my cold, maybe looking at my cold email. Should I restructure it? Have I reached out to enough people? I used to not ask people how many people they reached out to, and they'd be like, I've been cold emailing for 3 months. And I would say, how many people have you emailed? And they would say 40. And I'm like, that's not enough. So asking yourself that question. And then if you are, for example, I don't think this is like happening in this particular situation, because I think you're probably just getting distracted and this is a very long roundabout way of, you know, getting there. But if you I lost my train of thought. If you are getting people on the phone, for example, you know, your cold email is being opened and people are booking calls with you and you're having calls, but they're not closing, or they're not turning into an actual paying project, then the question is what's going on in my phone call, or what's going on in my proposal? And that's another thing that you can fairly easily get feedback on. I've asked people before to record their calls and to send them to me when they have a client call. So you can do things like that and get feedback on it from other copywriters, from other people in the community. But like, you just need to start thinking about problem solving every step of the way and asking yourself, is there somebody successful in my industry doing this? Because if there is, then it's not the industry. It's something that could be tweaked in my processes. So how's that? How's that for an answer? That's a long one. Okay. I've had a lot of good leads, but I'm having a hard time closing the deal with potential clients. I get on the call, send proposal, and it's met with crickets. What's some advice for people following up without being pishy? You know what? One time I had a student that this was happening to, and I asked to see their proposal, and lo and behold, the proposal was far too complicated. So they had taken like every single package and included it in there. That's in the like next level offer lesson, when really what you want to do is just make it like as like few details as possible, and then a very clear and obvious way to take the next step. So that's what I would consider. Looking at your proposal, also considering getting a little bit better at your call. But you probably know which one of the two it is. If you feel like the calls are going pretty good and then the proposal gets like crickets, it might be that you're overwhelming your client with information. Like that's something I've seen before. But look at what's going on. You are really close and there's just one missing piece. Something just needs to be tweaked in the process and what you're doing. And I bet it will be all better right after that. Okay. So I have got 3 questions left. So if you'd like to submit a question, you can drop it in the comments. I'm actually going to go ahead and do this one first, then John, and then this one. So consistently stuck between different types of messages when reaching out. It seems most people agree when sending DMs that it makes more sense to have a very short and direct message, or cold email, we should bring up something that's more unique to the client. And while sending DMs is much quicker, I feel like since they're shorter, it's much harder to stand out from the other random people online. I've sent out maybe 10 emails and 45 DMs. The DMs are all very similar, but I try to tweak each one to add some sort of uniqueness to it. What's your input when sending DMs? Short and direct, or do you think a little longer is okay? I've been trying to do mostly short, but direct feedback saying shorter is better for DMs. Honestly, I don't think shorter or longer like really matters here, quite frankly, because I get an insane amount of DMs. In fact, that's why my Instagram profile says like no DMs, please email me, because it's too much. I get so many. But I actually, one of my longest relationships with a contractor that I worked with, I don't work with them anymore. We recently parted ways just because we outgrew each other, was Instagram DM. And really what captured my eye was that they knew who I was and they genuinely reached out to me, because so many DMs are just like garbage, copy and paste things like want to get 1 million followers with like 15 million emojis and things like that. I would probably say don't use emojis actually. And then, yeah, and they reached out and they just were like super helpful. They knew who I genuinely was. They knew enough about my business to know that what they had to offer was going to help them. And they pitched it right then and there. So some people say though that they like the more gentle approach, like, hey, I appreciate your content, blah, blah, blah. And then to start the conversation. But anyone who has a ton of DMs, that's going to get lost real quick. Okay, John. In the blog writing module, which was fantastic, you spoke about free images. Thanks. I'm so glad you liked it. We're supposed to add these images for content within the blogs, or should it be on them? I understand product descriptions will need their product. Should all these images be stated in the contract, or agreement for my service be an add-on? So you don't have to provide images in blogs. The only reason I sometimes did that is because my clients were service providers. And so they didn't have like big teams, big like marketing teams. And so it was really helpful to just like give them an image at the top of the blog. And so it was never anything more than that. So just, and the thing is most clients won't need it, but if they do, it's nice to add on and to be helpful. Okay, this is the last question. I'm trying to figure out if I should salvage a client, and if so, how. He was incredibly vague in what he wanted for his web copy. My fault for not insisting on him getting more specific. I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, I'm actually going to jump over to John. Getting lost in the details is such a it's just so common. One of the things that Jacob McMillan kept saying on the live Q&As that I really loved was how in this process, you're going to have to make so many micro decisions that the faster you can just like make decisions and move on and like remind yourself that this is probably not that important and I'll deal with it when it comes up, the better. Because more often, like everybody's journey is going to be slightly different and unique to them. And so you like all the situations and scenarios that arise or are discussed in this program, like they might not ever be a problem for you. So don't try not to like worry about something until it like actually comes up and is like, and it might not even be a problem, right? It's just a decision. So try not to even worry about decisions that are not being made like right now, right? You'll save yourself so much energy. I'm trying to figure out, okay, salvaging this client. My fault for not insisting that he got more specific. If we have a contract through Upwork for 5 hours a week max at 100. He told me a couple weeks ago to hold off on writing more copy until we meet. Fine. I chase him for a few days. We set up a meeting. He doesn't show or even respond for nearly an hour after our Skype time. At what point he says, took the opportunity to hop on a call with his team. I politely tell him I've been prepared for our meeting and had important questions to ask him so we could get clarity. He says he might have time midweek. That was last week. I haven't heard a peep from him since. Obviously, he's a jerk, to put it nicely. I know I can write amazing copy for him if he gives me clarity. Plus, the hourly rate is so good. Would you continue to chase him down or end the contract? How would you handle this? I would give him the benefit of the doubt once, and then maybe part ways. Sometimes it's important to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have had so many situations with clients, actually really not that many, but there have probably been like 3 situations with clients where they did things where I was like, oh, red flag. How dare they? And then it turned out something like happened. Like one woman, her like kid was in the hospital. Another one actually got really sick. Another guy, he like found out his wife was cheating on him and ended up getting divorced. So it's like, we're all, again, going back actually to what I said at the beginning of this, like we are all freaking humans, and the work culture at large has tried to make us forget that, but we are on a path to remembering that. So try to incorporate it into your business where you can. We're all humans trying to figure it out. Give them one get out of jail free card, one benefit of the doubt chip or 2, and then from there, call it quits. So that's my advice for all of this, all of us, including me. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Just a comment. I started reading The Slight Edge. I love it. Love how it's written. Yeah. Compound Effect was based on The Slight Edge. Yes. Awesome. Yep. Thanks, Paige. All right, you guys. It was so good being here. I love hearing what's going on in your brains and answering your questions. And I will see you next week. Bye.